Hey, howdy everyone, Tony here. I hope you're doing well. Today we'll be utilizing the TDU method of analysis to look for potential setups in the charts. Let's see what we can find. First, if you want to learn more about the TDU method, check out the site. If this video is helpful or you learned something new, please like and subscribe to stay updated with my analysis. Now let's dive into it. As always, going to start here out on the weekly and work our way in. Right now, we ended up breaking the level that we were keeping an eye on here at 59,603. We ended up breaking that below that and then breaking this pivot here. So we got some counts off the table. We ended up coming to this channel line here that we were keeping an eye on last time, which happens to be from these levels up here. So it's just a channel there. This is the lower channel boundary line. Corrections are usually held within parallel lines, and they come down to the 1-to-1 here. So we have some clues here, or at least some triggers being hit saying that this is a possible correction complete. Now, just because they bounce off these levels doesn't mean it's automatically up into the moon or to the opposite direction. We still need some confirmation here. We did get a reaction, which is good. There could be something else that we reacted off of, moving average, or I'm sure there's something someone can find where we jumped off of. But right now, we front ran this level here at 52,660. I'd like to keep that on the table here of being touched still. This correction doesn't really help us as far as thinking this is going to be able to stop the flow yet. We'll have to see when we dig deeper down what we have here. But right now, again, this is a pretty swift move that broke beneath the range low and it came back to it, the underside of it, and testing it at the moment. And this is a typical thing to play here is when a range low breaks and it comes back correctively to this level, it's take a go at throwing a short at it, since we are retesting it. So everybody that was in the range here saw the break low, and now they're using this level to hide their stops behind. So that could happen. Again, the Elliott wave in here is a little questionable. Right now, we looks like a corrective pattern down. We don't have a super swift wave move down yet, so we don't really have an anchor as far as that goes. But if you look at other situations where we break range lows or highs or whatnot, sometimes we come back in. And that's the hopium right now, is that we have a range here and that we're going to break out and come back in. So if we consider what a flat is, so in a flat situation, the most likely target we're looking for is actually a sweep of the wave high, or a sweep of the end of the wave A here, and then a move back into the range. So it happens a lot. That's basically what a flat is. It's just ranging PA that breaks the high, tricks the people into buying or selling depending on which way this thing's facing. And then we get to move back into the range to the other side to grab some more liquidity on this side to sweep everybody out and then continue on with the trend. We're still waiting to see how this is going to play out. But for right now, us dangling beneath here isn't the most bullish looking setup. Again, anything can change. We can bust back up there at any time. What we usually want to see is something like this down here. We want to see it wick through and then come back up right away without any closes beneath it or anything like that. Now, there's always like coincidental timing and everything where things could just close at the low or close below and come back up. But for right now, this is usually what we want to look for when we come to a range area. I think if we can break back into this range here, just like you saw down here, all these touches down here led to us breaking down. If we do head up back to the 70s there, I think we have a chance that this is going to be a little bit weaker than usual. Potentially, again, we could always dump back down, but potentially this could be weakened up a bit up here, and we could just blast through it if we end up coming back into that. And that would be in an impulsive manner. So if this is some correction complete, we're going to head up. Of course, we're going to break for the wave 5 here. But the bulls have a lot of proving to do. Again, this is a swift leg down here, so we have to consider that this is the way the trend wants to move. It's not always the way things are with swift moves, especially in crypto. It could just be coming to test this line, squeeze everybody out, and then come back up. But usually in wave C's of zigzags, you want to see something that's a little less steep than the A wave. The steepness in waves usually come in wave C's of flats, A's of zigzags, wave threes. Ones and fives are a little bit more lazy. So this could be a couple things still, and I don't think the PA at the smaller degree really helps us out too much because there's a bunch of overlap. But right now, we got Swift move out. We're hanging out beneath the range low here. We need to break back up to be bullish. Rejection down to this area is what I'm looking to next on the bearish end. Now, if we end up reaching here, again, it's how do we get here? If we're just going to start slamming through here, I want to see we could just keep ripping through and heading further down. So I really want to see what happens in this area. If we get something corrective to it, if this ends up slowing down a little bit and we get something a little bit more lazy on the way down here, I think that would be a little bit of an indication here that we're considering holding this level for a potential move up. This is the 50K area. This is the big even down in this area. Down here on the daily, the only thing I really want to look at was the last time we were looking at this parallel channel to play as potential support and the 1-to-1. I think this move down could go a couple ways still. Again, corrections are confusing. They could go different ways. Usually we want to look at corrections in the rearview mirror per the books. So this could be a couple different things in here, especially this being a nice sharp move here. That cuts things down a little bit. Usually when we get in corrections, we want to see stuff being nice and choppy. So this quick move is a little bit suspicious at the moment just because of how swift we're moving away from these upper levels up here. Right now, again, we had this correction up here, which ended up breaking down, and we're putting in the same thing here at the moment. Now, of course, things change. What's the difference between a zigzag and a 1-2-1-2? Well, we could always say that the correction or the corrective laziness of the wave C or the second swing up here is an indicator, but we don't actually know until we start getting this if it's going to be a 1-2-1-2 up or if it's going to be a C wave down. So right now, that's what we're dealing with here, and that's what I was going over a little bit down in this section here, is that just because we see three wave moves up doesn't mean we have a zigzag yet. We need confirmation. Same thing with zigzags, same thing with any of these patterns. Confirmation is always going to be the more conservative way to play things. And if you're unsure of something, or if it looks a little suspicious, or if we bounced out of an area of interest or off a level of interest and you're not sure what's going on, you can always wait for confirmation if you're a little bit more conservative. So right now, I'm going to be a little bit conservative here just because of the fact that I don't have confirmation yet. Again, there's a lot of bearish things pointing up here. As you can see, we got the price level here to the tick got touched this morning after some news. So things aren't looking good for the bulls quite yet. We really need to hold this low here down at 54,285 before the bears can start clapping hands and slapping asses. So right now we're holding up pretty good. ES is dumped pretty good this morning, and we're still holding up here. A lot of news, a lot of macro stuff going on. Could be what's going on, but right now we don't have confirmation. Bears can say one thing, bulls can say another. This rejection up here and these wicks obviously aren't a very good look for the bulls at the moment. But we'll go down to the 4-hour and get a better look at it. So in the last couple of videos, again, just to rehash, we were looking for this to play as a potential bounce off point here for a 3-year C up. Obviously that 3 didn't play out. We got a little heads up here by this being a potential C wave because of the laziness of the slope. And then we got the dump over down here. And then in the last video, we're looking for this area to play as resistance or flip back into support. And we see the obvious outcome. And then these levels here, we're also on the radar to keep track of where we are, how we're going to react, if we're going to find these areas as support or are they going to play as resistance again. And as you can see, as all the way down here, these levels ended up playing as resistance several times. This one, not so much. So this is going to be the main area I want to look at here at 56, 828-ish. So right now, that's my intermediate level here. I want to see this break or hold as support to figure out what's going on. Also, last week I was talking about the impulsive range here and playing the bounce and looking for further down. So again, this is going to be the impulsive range low at the moment since we have a low pivot here, and this is going to be the impulsive range high. Right now, it's a swift move down, and that's what I'm playing off of at the moment. And then we got this corrective looking structure here coming back up. We ended up coming back into the 50 and 618 now, and we are held within parallel lines at a 1-to-1 ratio here, if I have this out correctly. Now, the PA, of course, the PA isn't the most ideal here. Could go a couple ways again. We got a reaction here. We broke back beneath this level here again that I was keeping on that played as resistance in the past. And it has before. Every time we break above there, it's always a wick up and then a push back down. So this is going to be my primary level here after we rejected from the larger level at 59,603. This is going to be this next level. This is the first level the bulls really have to break at this point and flip into support because right now they're lacking on that end. We could be coming back down here to refuel and head back up. But so I'd really like to see this level hold for the bulls. If we start breaking down these levels and flipping them into resistance again, then that's going to give a bearish look. Right now we are holding it, so that's good. Break of this low would be the first step, and then a retrace back up. On the bear side, again, 58,414 is going to be the level where I want to see it correct to now. If we start heading back up swiftly, again, that's off the list. So right now, again, for the bears, things are looking good. We came up to a level of interest. We rejected hard. So much in this area. But anyway, from this point here on the smaller scale side, it's all about these levels, these two levels to me right now, 56.5 and 58.5. If we can break one of these ways, then I think we're going to have something to talk about and potentially, hopefully, something to play off of. If it plays here correctively, great. If we start breaking down here, again, as always, if we break a level and we come back to it, how are we going to come back to it and what are we going to do around it? So if we end up coming down like this, again, looking for this to come back here for a move down. Now, if that is the pivot there, we can start putting on our pitchforks because right now we did come out of the golden zone. So I'm going to keep this on here after I clean this up a bit. So right now we do have a couple things lining up in the area. Since we do have a golden corner pocket, potentially could move down to the median line here of the pitchfork. We have an algo target down there as well. So we have some things lining up, no doubt. If we do come down here, the only question is, and for me has been the conflict, is where I think this thing is going to end, is what is this attached to? For one, I don't have a concrete count that I'm in love with. So there's a lot of questions in here. This move down doesn't look very ideal. So what the hell is it? You can throw numbers and letters all over the place or at me if you want, but I mean, I'm not 100% confident on what this is. So the fact that we're going to stop here for sure, I don't know that for sure. I'm going to have to wait and see how this plays out if it does end up going down to this level. Again, a lot of people have this as a diagonal. I hope so. It's not the most usual looking diagonal. Like I wouldn't usually confuse this with a diagonal. But again, if we end up coming down here, if this does end up coming down here and we do get a bounce up and it turns out to be a diagonal, good show. But right now it's a question mark for me. So cleared some things up here. So after all those words I said, what am I looking for now? I think we have a nice, swift, impulsive move here. Again, dillies don't mean squat until you get an actual retrace internally to this level. So right now, that's what I'm looking for. Either I want to see a continuation of us breaking down. Eventually, I'm going to want to see, not this, I want to see a nice corrective move going this way. And then I'll be looking at these levels and other confluences and all that stuff play for the downside. Again, right now, I think the bigger corrections are pointing up. We had that one further up here that was pointing up. I don't think we have enough evidence now to say that this is the change in the trend yet. You could count this as a potential impulse up. I wouldn't hate you too much for it. So we could be moving up here. again, we need proof on that side too. We really want to break back into that range and a nice thrust, no bullshit move, back up into the range, and then find corrective back into here. Otherwise, we're just testing. Anytime you come up and you just wick through something, that's just testing it. You're not flipping it to support until you actually break above it far enough and then come back correctively to it, test it again. Or you can retrace above it or just keep going up. But when it comes to these levels, this is the major one to break here. So far, we've come close to it a couple times. It got slapped down pretty hard. And then the next smaller degree level here at 58,414. Again, same thing. Every time we've come here, slapped down. Can't hold above it and got slapped down. So this is the primary level here for bulls to break and for bears to keep an eye on if we do retrace back there from here. It does turn out that we're going to end up pretty close to there with our golden zone here as potential confluence as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. We don't have to turn now. We could just keep on rolling like we did the last time over here. Like we did last time over here. But there's a potential we could just keep rolling down right now. But at this moment, I'm really looking and watching this level and how we get there. If we do keep on flowing down, again, smaller time frame, we're looking for corrections up and corrections and swift moves down. So just as long as that continues here, I'm going to be looking for further down. If we end up rolling down, again, this is the next area of interest to see how we react down here. This is some motive wave up and some ugly PA. We would hold this low here at 53,500. So that would be another one to put on your charts and keep an eye on, an alarm, obviously. If we end up breaking that, then obviously that seals the deal for any motive wave pointing up. And then we'd be looking for corrections down. Good news, bad news is that we still have a correction facing up. Good news is we have a break of the low, which starts the whole process over again. When we do get down here, when we do break the low, how are we breaking the low? Is it going to be impulsively, or is it going to be all slow and weak like this? Quick move would suggest that there's further down coming. The trend is still down. The bulls are still in control. If you end up slowing down here a little bit, could indicate that the trend of this downtrend that we have so far of lower highs and lower lows is coming to an end potentially. And then that still isn't a sure thing. We'd still be looking for, again, a move up, swift move up, something that counteracts the swift move down like this did here. We got a nice V-shaped recovery there, internal retracement to move up. So that's what we're looking for to play any C or 3. That would be the ideal setup. Hopefully next time it's a 3. Those are my thoughts right now on Bitcoin. If you have any questions, concerns, leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe, show me some love if you learned something new or found something insightful. Thanks for watching. Trade safe, trade clarity. Take it easy.